what I'm doing is probably going to be really boring, but I want to get it straight. One for reference. So I'm going to be, this stream is going to be a YouTube video. So, you know, if I had a chat and a following, you'd be like, hi, YouTube. Wherein I'm going to just go over my history of all the projects since I began music, because eventually I start sharing duties with, you know, Logan and other people. Yeah, it's probably going to be boring. I think it would be good for reference. So, luckily, this Bandcamp has a pretty damn good timeline. What it doesn't have is Apotheosis, because I deleted it because it's bad. There was a physical run of this album. So, the ancient history is that I used to play drums in a lot of metal bands. That doesn't really matter, other than I started eventually learning piano and music theory in, if that was probably 2011, 2012. And for a while it was just my name and then compositions, and that's it. The first project that I did, it was just called Design. I've talked about this before. This was the first release. I don't have a physical copy on hand. There were physical copies though. It came with a lot of really nice artwork, actually. This, which is a real painting I have in my room. Just nice stuff. It sucks and is terrible. Don't listen to it. Anyway, the point of all this is this was entirely just a solo project. One song had a spoken word line from one person. Otherwise, I did everything. Now, I remember originally I tried to outsource the mixing of this, and I didn't like how it sounded. I was going for something weird. The metal aspects were way too loud. I wanted like an even balance, 50-50 of orchestra and metal, like dead even. So the drums super quiet, the guitar is super quiet. They should be overpowered by the orchestra because they're just one instrument. Sound engineers were not a fan of that, understandably so. That was still a solo project. The next thing released under Design with a dot was Catharsis. Whereas Apotheosis was all sampled, Catharsis was basically all real. Drums were real, guitars were real, bass was real, and there was vocals done by me. I haven't deleted this, despite the fact that I should have. It's bad. I don't know, but what's important about this is that it had a whole fuck ton of sounds and influences. There was industrial, there was harsh vocals, there was clean vocals, there was symphonic death metal, but there was also like just straight electronic. Oh, I guess you'd be able to hear it. So shit like this, right? But then also it's so bad, but you got double kick, full orchestra, guitars, right back to back. And then this song is just like prog. Like, it's all over the fucking map. And the reason that I'm explaining this is because later on, you should be able to see where this is going. You should be able to trace things back. There's Voicide in here. There is Project Technophage in here. There is Design Abstract in here, obviously. There's a lot of different shit in here. Like, what is there's one that's just fucking noise. Like all the ambient shit that I use. Like, there's so much shit going on here, right? That like, the reason this came up is like there's, you know, for many years people have asked, why do you have so many different projects? And like, this is why, because this is a mess. Okay, but we're gonna get to why this is important, but just keep that in mind. So Catharsis 2013, and then Emanate. Now, keep in mind, while I was in the process of making Emanate, I was also... Oh, did I delete? See, I love deleting shit so much. No, it's unlisted. Okay, Dispassion. So, when I went to the recording studio that I did Emanate at, I actually took the very early version of Dispassion. Now, Dispassion was, at the time, similar shit, where it was sort of metalcore. There was guitars, but there was a lot of also just weird stuff. It was still symphonic, but it was heavier. And I also had on the back burner Emanate, and I happened to show the sound engineer that, and he's like, dude, record this. Like, you're weird metalcore, whatever, but like, this is interesting. So I went into that meeting expecting to record Dispassion, instead recorded Emanate. So just keep that in mind with the timeline, because Dispassion came out years and years later, because I just put those songs in the back pocket and I ended up redoing them again and again. Now, Emanate had session vocalists. So, first of all the clean vocals done by not me. I got a drummer who did some of the songs. Piano was mostly real. It was sampled, but it was played real. And then, yeah, session bassist for Lotus. So, but at the time that this was recorded, I was trying to make this into a real band. So I brought musicians in, some of which did not work out album-wise. The reason that Greg only did 2 of these songs is because he and the bassist I had lined up ended up leaving, and so I ended up doing the rest of the album on drums and all the bass, which I wasn't expecting to. And then we did bring in another guitarist too. So I ended up doing all the guitars as well, which in retrospect, like, these songs are stupid, right? It's not hard to play them. But that was like my first attempt at making it into a band and basically failing. So it was more or less still a solo project. Though there were session members on this. And of course I did have female vocals in design that carried on. Contrastingly, Dispassion was always set up to have my style of vocals. And I'm pointing this out. I know the release is way later, but it's because it was written at the same time, just as I was learning guitar. Corrupt. Same thing. No clean vocals done, but there actually were a couple clean vocals layers done by me. Probably terrible. Kind of wish I could delete it. Album art's great. Music video for Technophage, fucking great. But different person on clean vocals. I did hire a piano person just for the solo on Technophage. And then I also attempted to outsource the mixing and mastering. And yeah, it was done by Alex of At Dod's Edge. And that was like, I mean, I was a fucking nightmare. That one too, all real drums, which we recorded twice over. This was a full length album. This was like over an hour long, and I just cut it. I just hated it. It was very experimental. And even then, too, if I showed you like the full album, it was super experimental, like a narrative. There were songs that were just pure noise. There was elements of everything from like post-hardcore to tech death and everything in between. There was a lot of like trance hooks and weird things. One interesting fact about this album is that this song used to be on it. Like, this was the Design Abstract song. Now, think about how weird that is. Like, that, so, after this album, I realized, okay, like, that trance hook stuff, it's not doing it for me. Like, I want this to be death metal, first of all. And I want it to be primarily orchestral. I want to get away from, like, it's still going to be science fiction, but I want to get away from the trance hooks. And before that, there was a lot of just, some of them were just like basically techno songs. So past that, I decided the first real split happened, and that was Project Technophage coming away from the Design Abstract. So after Corrupt, I split that sort of idea of the industrial kind of pop banger synth hook stuff into its own thing. So a lot of the industrial and a lot of the trancey synth hook stuff left. And then we'll get to esoteric and technotheism in a bit. But no, we won't. We'll do it right now. So after Corrupt happened, this would have been 2016, 2019. What? Oh, right. Because Logan was, okay. So this is where it gets confusing. 2017, I started talking with Logan. But of course, I was talking to lots of other people too, because I was trying to get a full band together. The start of 2017, I don't remember when, is when I started writing technotheism. Of course, massive undertaking. Album is way up here for reasons. Now, at the time, we had a whole bunch of people in the band. Logan was in the band. We had a full, like, Christina was still on piano, Danny was still on vocals. Eric was on bass, Eric was on guitar, Kyle was on bass. And I began writing ideas for technotheism and running it by this full band chat, and it was always just met with fucking silence. Like, there was just not contribution happening. At most, I would set up songs and Eric would do some leads to them, just kind of wherever. So while I was doing that, I started writing Soliloquy, which was a completely different thing. I was listening to so much post-metal, and sort of like doomy, post-rock, post-metal, post-black, all this stuff. And so I was so sick of the Design Abstract sound that I wrote Soliloquy. And originally it was going to be a Design Abstract release, but it didn't end up really working out for Danny doing the vocals. But I went to a studio, because I was still going to studio for this. So like Emanate was done in a professional studio, and so was Soliloquy. And I recorded all the instrumentals, again, everything myself. I did real drums, I did all the guitars, all the bass, because I was getting better at bass and guitars. And I recorded this, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do vocals. And it's mostly clean vocals. And the sound engineer was like, dude, like, you can do the screams, but your clean vocals aren't there yet, which sucked to hear. So I shopped it out, and eventually Villa took it. And that became retroactively a Voice-side release, because it does have a very similar sound to that sort of, to a degree. Anyway, so I pitched that to the lineup of Design Abstract at the time, and they were basically like, what the fuck is this? And I know, like, even to this day, like, that type of sound doesn't really click with Logan. I think he's more getting into it, like, now, but definitely back then it was, like, not his jam. And same with the other guys. They're super technical players. Like, the official full lineup for Design Abstract was ridiculously overqualified. Like, there was some just stupid technical players in that band. Way overkill for what I was doing. So, keep in mind, so at this point, I'm working basically with Logan. A lot of changes to Design Abstract. So I'm working on Project Technophage, and I'm churning out Design Abstract songs, and we're jamming regularly, like weekly, a real actual lineup of Design Abstract, until I basically fired everyone. Like, I'm not going to pretend that it went another way. Some landed better than others, but really what it came down to was just me, Logan, and Danny. That was it. And we're jamming these songs in real life. But in the meantime, I'm starting to take on a lot of other projects. This is when Monodon / Funeral Bell happened. Where's that one? Down here. Where I was kind of putting out on the internet, and it's like, hey, what do you want to do? What do you need me to do? So with Funeral Bell, he took guitars and bass, and he left the drums and the vocals up to me, and I did the production. And I did all the reamping and everything like that. And so I was like, okay, I want to, like, look, design, this is where we're at right now. Me and Logan, I'm like, look, Design Abstract, it's going nowhere. Nobody cares. I want to make this death metal project inspired by, like, Bloodbath and super old school death metal, very dumbed down, a lot more straightforward, a lot more marketable. So I began working on ideas for Disciples of the Void. This is where things get interesting. So I don't think it says here, but for example, this album, writing-wise, was split directly in half. Track 1 was completely written by Logan, but completely recorded by me, I think. And I did the solo. Track 2 was completely written by me, recorded by Logan, pretty sure. Invoking Armageddon was literally a 50-50 split. He sent me like 2 or 3 riffs. I did the rest. Abyss Within, similar thing. He sent me a few riffs and I modified them, and I did a shit ton of leads with that one too. Pray to Me, I think, was written by me, recorded by him, and Through Sorrow was written by him and recorded by me. And that's all on the rhythm guitars. And then we switched off leads as well. And so it was like that workflow now kind of seems batshit, but like back then, as stupid as it is to say, like I had a particular way of playing guitar. In retrospect, it was just sucking. And I kind of wanted to maintain control of as much of the guitar as I could. So we're churning away this ethereal void shit. At the time it was called Hollow Again. I'm working on my beat boop music. At this point, Technotheism is on a dead computer. It's as good as scrapped. Because Danny doesn't really seem interested in working on it, and Disciples of the Void did pretty well. And so we're like, let's just focus on this. So that brings us to around 2019, 2020, right? This was June 2020. Oh, wow. So, right, because this was finished during the pandemic, but it was started pre-pandemic. Well, that's happening. This is when I've personally started to take clean vocals more seriously. And that's when you get Blackwing. Now, the weird thing is, Blackwing originally was a Project Technophage release. Now, up to that point, it's been aggro tech. I mean, if you've heard, like, Project Technophage, it's just aggressive slamming beat boop music, except for track 3, We Are the Darkness. It was just a goth rock song. And I took that one idea and I expanded on it into Blackwing, or eventually rebranding it as Voicide. There's another split. So Project Technophage, industrial metal beat boop music, but it dipped into goth. So I kept doing that eventually, but I also split off into that goth rock sound. And that's Blackwing. That's when I started really, really trying to do clean vocals. In the meantime, we're sketching up some ideas for just a kind of, like, I want Technotheism to exist, right? We just need to get the momentum back up, because it's not like I've abandoned Design Abstract. I'm just really down on it. So Logan, we had an EP's worth of songs that were written just by Logan. And the thing is, I love them, but they didn't fit the vibe, like, at all. So I ended up grabbing one of them, which was Visions. But then I also... So this was a similar thing to Disciples of the Void. Ordo Abkeo, fully written by Logan, including orchestra, but recorded by me. The rest of it... No, it's not even like that. Cyclical Consciousness was mostly written by me, but it was recorded by Logan. Disintegrate was... I think that was written... Yeah, that was written by me, because that one was like the weird one. Visions, written by Logan, recorded by Logan. And then Messengers, mostly written by Logan with a bunch of ideas by me, recorded by Logan. But see, we were still switching off back then, and including the fact that he did the fucking scoring for this, but I played guitar for it, which is crazy. On this one, again, new clean vocalist. It wasn't me, but I was working on clean vocals. So, we're doing that. I'm still working on clean vocals, and I came up with the single What Comes After. And then one day I basically get fed up and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to dig up the demo for the Apotheosis. At this point, Danny's recorded it, but the album isn't finished. I got Alex to record it because I was thinking that she would finish this album. And instead I got her to kind of do the test run for this, again, just to build momentum. And then I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to see what it sounds like if I sing the Apotheosis. And to this day, I feel like if you compare the three of us, like, I'm probably not the strongest vocalist, but I think In terms of having like a unified sound, it makes sense for me to do all of the vocals. I mean, I guess I would say that I would be biased, but it's a more cohesive sound. I feel like for better or for worse, when you hear female clean vocals in metal, it's just, oh, it's gothic metal, or oh, it's symphonic, oh, it's the cheesy opera metal, and it's like it isn't, and especially not with Alex. Like if you haven't heard Esoteric, it's really cool. But it's a different sound. It's really raw, it's really noisy, it's really gritty. We could get away with not double or triple tracking stuff. Like on Technotheism or on any Design Abstract, I will have like 10 to 15 layers of vocals. With Alex, that's not her style of singing. It's never going to happen. I did good to like double or triple track it on Esoteric, but that's fine because that was the sound. It was really gritty and it fit her voice like perfectly. But that was a turning point because that was like, I say that this was like the first real album that had my clean vocals. Like obviously it wasn't. I was dabbling it with since the very beginning. This had clean vocals. Don't listen to his fucking garbage. But this obviously saw some success. Technotheism though, also almost entirely written by me. Now at this point, I don't think I tracked hardly any guitar. I'm pretty sure Logan tracked all of it because I realized, wow, Logan's way better at guitar than me. But Relentless, Deus Est, Apotheosis, written by me. This is a beat boop instrumental. Resistance was written by Logan. In fact, fun fact, when we met, because me and Logan met on Kijiji, he had a whole huge fucking SoundCloud just full of ideas. And my favorite one was this track called Duster. And I was like, can I have this? And he's like, I'm not going to do anything with it. And that, I fucking loved that song. Loved playing it. Just absolutely loved it. It had a few renditions. It took a few attempts at scoring before I got it. But that was the first of Logan's tracks to ever become like Design Abstract. Even though Visions was released first, Visions happened way later. Because remember, this started in 2017. Voidwalkers I don't remember because it had 2 versions. Omnisphere doesn't count. Data Shield Attack was all me. Return was a Logan song, and it was actually an Ethereal Void song that I took because the old Return was a Logan song that I didn't like the sound of. Parallel Projection was all me. Annihilation was all me. Again, Logan recorded them, but that was like 100% me doing the writing. And then this one as well, yeah. This is when it's basically just me and Logan doing everything. We had a guest guitarist, and this isn't a real person, it's a Vocaloid. I had some people kind of acting as like producers, essentially. Alex had a big hand in like shaping like the initial sound of the thing, a lot of musical decisions. For example, the massive sweeping 3-minute bridge in Data Shield Attack I originally had in the middle of Deus Est. Weird idea for an opener. Stuff like that he's like, hey, maybe don't. And I was like, we'll see. Past that, I decided to, then I turned Project Technovage into Voicide, and then I ended up just splitting them. But, okay, and then we've got Acolytes of Entropy, and it should be clear at this point, Ethereal Void is just more straight death metal, but it's not unlike Design Abstract, right? It's just like more groove-based, and at the time, Design Abstract, as like we were pushing towards this, was very melodic and that sort of thing, so it's like, okay, Ethereal Void is like just death, groovy death metal, really dissonant, really chunky. Anytime Logan, like, played fret 1 in Design Abstract, I'm like, no chromaticism. He would sneak it in, and like sometimes I'd get bitchy, but sometimes it would just be like, fine, I guess, but it's fucking rare. That's what Ethereal Void's for. So at this point, we introduced Nemesis. He played on a couple of these tracks. He's a permanent member now, so the new Ethereal Void album has him on all of the tracks, except for track 5. Logan started his own beat boop music project, another Funeral Bell, that's fine. So then we added Matt to the lineup for Design Abstract. This is also why it's confusing. So if you look at, we're skipping this Born of Machines because it's right here. Matt wrote and recorded all of the rhythm guitars for Born of Machines because that was a song that he had in the back pocket that I was just obsessed with. I absolutely loved it. But then everything else was Logan's writing. Now, some of it, so I punched in a few guitar parts for this album, but not a lot. I would write skeletons, but they wouldn't have guitar parts. So it would just be like drums, orchestra, bass, and I would just send it to Logan. Whatever he wrote, cool. Some of the songs like Hybrid had like a shit ton of revisions, but that was the thing. That was basically where I just stopped playing guitar. Logan and Matt were both way better than me. And the thing is, originally the idea was that Matt was going to bring more of that like Swedish melodeath sound because he's like a big In Flames and Dark Tranquillity, like that type of sound, which is what I wanted. But that workflow did not really work. He's not like a thinking in computers like me and Logan do. So it wasn't easy to remotely collaborate like me and Logan do, or like Nemesis from EV. Like we'd never met him. Same with Funeral Bell. We'd never met until the album was done, because we just did everything remotely, which I like. So that's kind of the overview. I basically just wanted to get out like my contribution, because like it's been a dwindling contribution for Design Abstract, but it's it was that it used to be like a split, like Esoteric and Disciples of the Void especially, it was like literally 50-50 on guitar, which is weird because Logan's so much better than me, but I slogged my way through it and I relied on editing, whereas now I don't need to edit anything. I don't care. At this point, so we've got a new album, which I don't even think I put here. Spoilers, leaks. Transhuman Ascendant is the new album, and this one I legitimately did not even touch guitar in the writing. I punched in one lead for Pathways. Logan doesn't even know that, and it's mixed with a synth. Other than that, everything was Logan. Some of it was skeletons again, where I would just send him drum tracks and bass and he would punch it in, but like I did not write a single. This is titled wrong. I don't know why it's titled wrong, but it is. Leaked. Spoilers. Yeah. And so at this point with Transhuman Ascendant, it's just me on vocals and bass. I still do all the bass for now, but I'm probably going to outsource it because I just don't care. Voicide is still entirely me. It's like Liturgy was like a benchmark flagship album. I hired a session drummer for the whole thing, but I did everything else. Oh, that's not true. 7 and 9, right. Logan played leads on this and did the thrashy riffs in this. But obviously I wrote it because it's my sound. I brought Project Technophage back. That's all just like a solo project. And then this one that I can't pronounce the name of, that's a solo project just for Blackman. I'm not gonna get into that. The main thing was like the writing behind Design Abstract and like the contribution. And it's really crazy because like Logan joined up in like 2017, but it wasn't until like 2020 that he actually like contributed to the writing, despite the fact that he's a far better guitar player than me. And to be fair, at the time I was pretty solid at guitar. I'm garbage now, but I was better. I could actually keep up with some of this shit. And I did a lot of the leads on Disciples, which crazy to think. Yeah, so that's the overview. After I rebranded Project Technophage and split it off to Voicide, that became my pseudonym for everything. So you look at like Madame Technosis, like my credits are always just going to be Voicide. Same with Ethereal Void, Voicide. That's the Twitch channel. That's the YouTube channel. That's just me. But before that, it was Technophage. And then my solo project was Project Technophage. And before that, it was The Curator, but you don't need to worry about that. Yeah, those are the main ones, and my kind of contribution to it. I've phased out playing guitar unless it's my own stuff, just because Logan's a lot better. And I'm probably going to phase out doing bass too, because I really just care about vocals. Yeah, and then the actual writing, the scoring and everything, obviously. So Yeah, boring sort of stuff, but clears up the timeline. So